Welcome to Unapologetically Sensitive, where you can learn, relate, laugh, and maybe even live a bolder, brighter life. I'm your host, Patricia Young, licensed clinical social worker. This is a weekly podcast where we explore the strengths we have because of our sensitivity and some of the challenges it poses as well. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional. Hey there. This is bonus episode 15 and part of a 30-day podcasting challenge where every day I'm releasing an episode through the end of November 2018. You guys, I have to tell you, I'm loving this podcasting, but the 30-day challenge is kicking my behind. I'm feeling pretty depleted and I'm committed to completing the 30-day challenge, but I'm going to simplify the episodes. And this episode, I usually do a little talk at the end. I'm just going to load it all at the front and I'm going to tell you to have a blessed day before I end. I really want to make this sustainable and I really want to finish this 30-day challenge, so I'm just giving you a heads up. This is one of the talks that I had with my son Joshua, and I asked him, what's it like to have a mom who's a therapist? One of the things that I realized when I was listening back to this episode is another way that we're similar is we don't put a lot of effort into things. And an example would be that oftentimes he's asked me if I'll fix him something to eat, and if I'm not able to do it, he'll just go without eating. That's not always the case for me, but there are a number of things that I joke with one of my friends that little things sometimes feel like they take a lot of effort. I'm wondering if it's the place where we just get overwhelmed pretty easily. The other thing that I noticed is when I interviewed both of the boys, listening back to the episodes, when I talk with friends or I'm having a casual conversation with other people, I think I would ask a lot more questions. And I think I've gotten to the point with the boys that I'm lucky that they'll answer my questions, and I've learned not to dig too deep. Because listening back, I really wanted to ask more questions for clarification. The final thing is that Josh and I talk about me being in his studio. When he went to college, I took over the front bedroom, and before we had kids, I had this room built as my office for my crafts. I just loved it. And when I found out I was pregnant, we were going to put the baby in, we had a dinette at the time, and we were going to put the baby in the dinette, and so I could keep my office. And then when we found out we were having twins, all that went to, well, you know where that went. So I lost my office, and I gladly did it. I loved having the boys, but now that the boys are off at college, I've set up Josh's room, which is my old office in the front of the house, and I do all my podcasting in here. I do all my videos. And when he came home this last weekend, I took all of my equipment out because I had interviews to do, but I felt so lost for the weekend, and I can't just jump on and do a short recording because there's no place to do it. So when we make that reference to he's in my studio, which used to be his bedroom, that's what it was. As you're listening to these episodes, if you're seeing areas where you struggle as being someone who feels deeply, thinks deeply, you're struggling in your relationships, you're having a hard time having balance, you're feeling overwhelmed, and you're interested in working with me, I am a licensed clinical social worker. If you live in California, you can go to my website, patriciayoung.lcsw.com, and reach out to me. We can see if we're a good fit. We're building a Facebook community called Unapologetically Sensitive. You're welcome to join. I'd love to get your feedback. If you want to reach out to me, if you want to look at the show notes, you can go to unapologeticallysensitive.com. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. So now I'm going to tell you onto the episode, and have a blessed day. Hey Josh, welcome.
Thank you.
It's funny sitting here in your room, which is now my recording studio.
Mm-hmm.
So what's it like to have a mom who's a therapist?
I mean, it's like when people ask what it's like to have a twin is kind of something that I don't know anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that foreign to me. But I mean, it's good and it's bad. Sometimes it's like I'll just be having a rough day, and sometimes it feels you're trying to like get at me from different angles, like, why are you having a rough day? Trying to like find a deeper meaning, even though sometimes I just may.
Mm-hmm.
But other times it's really helpful, like if I like have a weird look on my face, and sometimes you can read into that and saying like, oh, what's wrong? Is it school? Is it something else? But overall, I think it's definitely positive because, like I said before, it's helpful having somebody that's aware.
You haven't always liked it, though, have you? You can be honest.
I mean, not always, but it's like, it's similar with having a twin that's like, it has its ups and its downs, but I'd rather have it than not.
What do you think are some of the downsides of having a mom that's a therapist?
It feels like you're trying to like get at me from different angles sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think whether you know it or not, I think you just kind of do it subconsciously because that's what you do. I mean, that's what you do for a living.
I think it's really more about who I am. And I feel, in some ways, I feel pretty tuned into you. And in other ways, I feel like I don't have a clue.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think in some ways you and I are very similar. But I also think that you tend to be private about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where you feel like I'm therapizing you, I think as a mom, I tune into what your feelings are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you're hurting, my heart's hurting. And so I think when you feel like I'm trying to get at you, it's probably because I feel so powerless and I just want to do something so that you're not hurting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I can see how that would irritate the heck out of you, especially being a teenage boy.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I don't think that I saw how similar we were with you growing up. And Grams would always say how similar we were. And I felt like I was more like Daniel. I think I identified more with like his anxiety and the struggles that he had.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm really starting to see how you and I are much more similar than I would have thought.
In what ways?
I think we both feel things very deeply. I think that when something needs to be done, we just step in and do it. I think we both have a wicked sense of humor.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think just the way that we care so deeply about things.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm just more verbal about it, and I think you're more private.
Yeah.
But I think that's your nature just by who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do your friends ever talk about like how easily or not easily they can talk to their parents, and how does it compare to our family?
Not really specifically. They don't usually say, oh, I can't talk to my parents about my feelings. That's not really what teenage guys tend to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But they will say, they'll comment, and they've noticed how, like, when they're over, they'll be like, oh, it seems like your relationship with your parents is really casual. Like I kind of wish my parents were like that. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, like, it's, especially the past couple of years, I think things have definitely shifted. It's kind of been, we've been more equal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can talk to you more openly and feel like you can talk to me more openly.
Yeah, I feel like I'm finally getting the hang of parenting now that you're about 18. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
finally starting to figure out what it's about.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like my relationship with you is probably the best that it's ever been.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know what it was, but something these past couple of years, something changed, and I think we
Yeah.
both got the hang of it.
Well, at least we finally got it. And I have to say that our house is that house that the kids come over. Like when you played baseball in high school, we'd always have a living room full of kids that would spend the night here. And it felt nice feeling like we've got a house that people want to come to and that they want to hang out at.
Yeah.
Anything else before we sign off?
I think that's about it.
Okay. So I have to tell the truth on myself. When I recorded with Daniel, every time we'd end, I'd say, I love you. And then he'd say he'd love me back. And then I thought, was I trying to manipulate him to say I love you so everybody knows what a great relationship I have? But I think I say that to you guys almost every time before we stop talking. So I'm not going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Thank you, Lovey.
Uh-huh.
All right. Bye.
Bye.